Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of my blog report. Today is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2008. I'm really excited about this edition, so let's get started. Let's take another visit to the Technorati Blogger Central and see what the top tags are for today. Technorati Blogger Central, we have top tags today are Politics News, Barack Obama, John McCain, Business, Sarah Palin, Media, UK News, World News, and Guy Ritchie. That's Madonna's now ex-husband, or about to be. But the story I'm focused on today was a topmost link on Technorati and is still one of the, I believe it's actually number 2, rising links of the day. Rising links are those articles that other bloggers have linked to for their posts. And that's the story that the Republican National Committee has spent over $150,000 in the space of just 1 month on clothing, makeup, and assorted accessories for Alaska Governor Sarah Palin and her family. Now, this story was broke by Politico, which has done a great job of laying out what those specifics were. Take a look at this. According to Politico, the RNC spent specifically $49,425.74 at Saks Fifth Avenue, $75,082.63 at Neiman Marcus for 2 visits, and $4,716.49 on hair and makeup through September, after reporting no such costs in August. None at all. Now, what this basically means is as follows. Of course, you remember all the stories about Joe the plumber, Joe Wurzelbacher. Joe makes probably $40,000 a year. This expenditure on Governor Palin and her family is over 3 times what Joe the plumber makes in 1 year. 3 times. Now, let's put a finer point on it. What do Joe the plumber and Governor Palin have in common from a media perspective? Both were essentially used by the campaign to put out a message. But here's the massive difference. Joe the plumber was not compensated by the McCain campaign, and yet used as the image of the everyday working person who needs a tax cut, who's not making a lot of money. Governor Palin was used as an image by the McCain-Palin campaign, obviously, and put out the idea that tax cuts were good for the working persons like Joe the plumber. But they forgot to add that Joe the plumber will never see, in this election cycle at least, someone spending $150,000 on him. In fact, his situation apparently is so dire that people on a radio show took up a collection to help him pay off his back tax debts, to which he chimed in with, "Thank you so very, very much." The bottom line is that this is a colossal error in judgment on the part of the RNC. It flies in the face of their message. But not only that, consider Michelle Obama, Senator Barack Obama's wife, appeared on The View wearing an off-the-rack dress. Retail price, $120. No, not $120,000, $120. And when it was seen on The View, well, when she was seen on The View wearing it, copies of that particular item of clothing flew off the shelves, benefiting the small business people that both created the dress, I don't know who it was, and I'll find out, and also who sold the dress. Now, the RNC, not to mention John McCain and Governor Palin, missed a golden opportunity to assist small businesses by selecting an unknown designer and a little-known retail store to do their shopping at. Was it necessary to spend, well, $4,000, an additional $4,000 at a men's accessory store for Todd Palin? Of course not. This all comes at a time when the economy around us is collapsing, when consumer confidence in our system is at an all-time low, at least over the past 20 years. It comes at a time when many of you out there wondering where your next dollar is going to come from and how you can work to lower expenses. And here, those of you who are McCain-Palin supporters find out that your candidate is allowing this to be spent on them rather than saying to the RNC, you know, I think you should take that money and use part of it for a more worthy campaign expenditure, perhaps give part of it to charity, but better represent the donor. It's much akin, I hate to say this, but it's true, to the problem the Clinton campaign had earlier this year against Senator Obama. I don't know how many of you follow politics, but for those of you who do, you might remember the famous Bellagio trip. The Clinton campaign had taken up shop at, of all places in Las Vegas during the Nevada primary, or the time working up to the Nevada primary, Bellagio. They'd taken shop at Bellagio. They didn't stay at a Motel 6 or anything that represents frugality. They stayed at Bellagio, which means that if you're a donor, your hard-earned money is going to possibly gambling at the Bellagio, which means they were gambling your money away. Now, your retort may obviously be that at least McCain and Palin weren't gambling your money away as a donor. Perhaps not. But on the other hand, what they were doing was making absolutely certain that the Palins are well satisfied with the latest fashion, even while her constituents go hungry for jobs. That's not a good sign at all. So the McCain-Palin campaign has given a kind of backhand to Joe the Plumber. It's no surprise that they're so behind in the polls with actions like that. Consider today's poll numbers. NBC News, Wall Street Journal poll has Barack Obama ahead of John McCain by 12 points. The poll conducted by the Gallup organization called the Gallup Daily Tracking Poll has Senator Obama ahead of Senator McCain by 11 points. And those are just some of the examples. But it's clear the McCain-Palin campaign is grasping at straws, and they may have found a consistent theme that they're carrying well into next week. Unfortunately, it's a sinister theme, and it's based around racism. Consider this. As you might have noticed, the McCain-Palin campaign adopted the habit of referring to Senator Barack Obama and his tax plan as socialist. I might add, it's the same type of tax plan that Senator McCain himself supported in 2000, but now has taken to basically throwing mud at Senator Obama and saying, you're a socialist because you want a progressive rather than a regressive tax structure. That tax structure is as old as America itself. The idea that the more money you make, the higher your tax rate should be. It's just a question of how high, but it's common to our society. It is far different from socialism and from capitalism, yet the McCain-Palin campaign has taken on that strategy, and more sinisterly, their surrogates and associates have taken up their voice in more sinister ways. Leonard Duguid, the editorial page columnist for the Kansas City Star, has pointed out that calling Senator Obama socialist is a way of interjecting racism in the campaign in a hidden fashion. To make it basically bluntly clear, ladies and gentlemen, calling someone socialist in this case is racist. First of all, I want you to see the evidence for yourself. Go to Google and type socialist and African American or socialist and black. You will find a number of different results that link the African American civil rights movement with those who were against the movement, who referred to such of its igniters as the late Dr. Martin Luther King as socialist. J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI during the late 60s, believed that Dr. King was not only a socialist but a communist and had him investigated as such. And there are people, even today, that will use the term socialist and communist interchangeably. They have nothing to do with facts. First of all, a socialist is a person that believes the government should own part of the means of production. A communist is a person who believes that the federal government should own all of the means of production. It has nothing to do with democracy. Nothing. And anyone who tell you otherwise is just plain foolish and does not understand what they're talking about. The bottom line is that we have had countries that are dictatorships that are communist. But the term itself refers to a type of economic system and not the difference between a democracy and a dictatorship. Let's push all that aside and come back to present day. The term is used in this campaign as a code word by some to get you to think, first of all, oh, there's Senator Obama. Last week, we said that he was cavorting with terrorists. This week, we're saying that he is socialist. Take that and transfer it to the 1960s, the late 1960s, when those such as the late J. Edgar Hoover over the FBI were saying that Dr. King was a socialist, possibly a terrorist, or words like a terrorist, and definitely a communist, and having him investigated. You see, very little difference between the two. A very dangerous line of thinking, which I argue opens the door to a new and more advanced form of attack, which is simply a replay of the past, where they will trot back in, yes, that's right, Reverend Jeremiah Wright. You see the connection? Jeremiah Wright. They say he's anti-American. Anti-American. You're socialist. You're socialist, you could vote with terrorists. That's the McCain-Palin line. That's where they're going with this, and it's calculated. It's calculated to appease to the Joe the Plumber types out there who would rabble-rouse and say, yes, 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 that's it, and threaten Obama supporters at rallies and at voting booths in some cases. Although I pray to God this does not continue. But that's the end result. It's terrible, and might add, this is how clumsy the McCain-Palin campaign is. They put out this racist populist line, and then they insult Joe the Plumber by spending $150,000 for their candidate's wardrobe and makeup. Look, when this election is done, the one book that should be written is The Death of Racist, Economic, Social, and Political Approaches to American society. The American people have seen through this game, and they're ready to get on with it. You know, a lot of people talk about the Bradley effect. I'm going to introduce a term that I call the reverse Bradley effect. There are many people who are European American, my term for white, because I really don't like that term, who want to see America get on with it. And yeah, they're voting for Senator Barack Obama because he represents someone of color that represents what America can be, and they want that symbol out there. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I know a lot of people like that. They want to see America get on with it and get on to the matter of unifying itself to improve our country and solve our economic problems.